Hi, I'm Will Alford, and I'm a licensed U.S. Customs broker, and this is my business idea. The Department of Homeland Security and Customs and Border Protection now require licensed customs brokers to obtain 36 credit hours of continuing education every 3 years. My business idea is to provide the required trainings to companies and individuals, either in person or via teleconference. This is a niche market. There are only approximately 16,000 active customs brokers operating in the United States, but these requirements are in place. When they're in place, they will be required for customs brokers to keep their licenses. So this is a unique opportunity for three reasons. One, it's a new requirement, so the market is not flooded with companies offering these services. Two, new requirements mean confusion. It's a prime time to solve people's problems before they become a problem. And three, time. This goes into effect technically in 2024 through 2027 as a testing period, but then 2027 is when they actually go into effect. So this allows me the time to probably set up the company, get accredited by the government agencies, get customers, understand their needs, and be up and running by the time these go into effect. Moving on to service offering. What is your product or service? It's a service, and it will provide the required training for Customs and Border Protection and partner government agencies so that licensed customs brokers can continue to keep their licenses. And when you think of partner government agencies, you're thinking USDA, FDA, EPA, government agencies such as that go hand in hand with the U.S. Customs and Border Protection. How does your service differ from an idea? So my service does differ from an idea because it will provide the necessary service that I have the skills and accomplishments to back up. So this is a concrete idea for to offer something that is a service that's needed out there in the world. Why will people want to purchase it? This is a government requirement for customs brokers to keep their licenses, so it's a really good motivation for people to use this service. Who is the competition in this industry, and how does your potential customer currently feel about these other competitors' offerings? So, as I alluded to in the 2-minute pitch, there are no current companies offering this because no one they're not in place yet. And I actually checked the Customs and Border Protection website recently, every day, actually, several times, and they still have not posted the requirements for getting accredited. So I'm actually reaching out to them via email to try to get a jump start on this to see what the requirements might be or when they might be coming down the pipeline, so that way I can be prepared when that happens. Um, Nonetheless, I'll get into that a little bit later on, but there's no current competition. But I do assume that companies that offer different types of trainings for customs brokers in this field will be offering similar services and offering this training. So customers use these companies because of name recognition and just because they're kind of the only ones there for this. But in my experience, they don't appear to be loyal to these large companies. It's just a matter of convenience, which is something I'll have to work against. All right, so service offering continued. Where's my market? This is going to be nationwide, remote, and in person. So in my business model canvas, I point out that I'll travel to locations to give these trainings in person, but I also hope to offer, you know, self-guided trainings, if you will, via internet site or possibly even a text-based version of it, or physical copy of the text. That's still in the works. The minimal required feature set for my product service will be established and approved trainings, access to knowledgeable resources, people that work in my company, a website where you can do your self-service trainings or just find out information about the products and the requirements. And also, like I've just mentioned, possibly physical text trainings. What inspired this idea? So, as a licensed customs broker, these regulations apply to me as well. It came kind of as a surprise earlier this year that, hey, you're now going to have to take continuing education to keep your broker's license. It's been something that had been talked about for a while, but there were no real legs on it. Then Customs came out with their Federal Register notice saying, hey, this is something you have to do. So I had already been thinking about opening a business, actually, and I just couldn't quite find the right idea. And then saw this and think it's a unique opportunity to get it started. So I'm really glad this class correlated with this time frame. All right, what assumptions have you made that have driven you to this point? So the assumptions I've made are licensed customs brokers need this training. It's more of a fact than an assumption. There will be more people looking for this training than the companies that offer it. So I mentioned there are a few large companies that I imagine would be offering this, and maybe a few other people like myself got this idea. Um, And I'm also assuming that I can be accredited by the various government agencies that have to do the accreditation. So those are the assumptions I'm making. Hopefully, they're correct. And do you have any unique insight into the market dynamics or any technological shift that makes this a fresh opportunity? So yeah, so basically, I have the insight of a licensed customs broker, and I've worked with numerous licensed customs brokers. I understand how we think, and I've actually gone through the trainings myself from some of these more established companies, and I do see some ways that they're lacking. There's lack of personality, lack of true understanding of the material. But you have to counter that with people are just sometimes going through these trainings just to get them done. So I have to offer it in that way as well, not add too much fluff to them. All right. So next, we're going to move on to customer information. Who is your customer, user, payer, and how are these different from each other? So typically, these will be the same person. So the customer through my site and then search engine optimization, I'm going to target people like myself who just want to get the training themselves, keep their license, and move on. So they'll be the user, customer, and the payer. However, there are companies out there who will pay for the trainings for their employees. And in this case, the company will be the payer and the customer, while the user would remain the licensed customs broker employee of the company. And how can you reach out to them or reach each of them? I'm sorry. So basically, word of mouth through the current contacts I have, social media, I have LinkedIn, things like that. Probably create some more, Twitter, Instagram, things like that. Advertising in well-known publications in the trade world and supply chain world. Uh, Use a website search engine optimization. So get your Google searches where you see my name first or up there at least. Um, will need to be active to reach companies, especially the larger ones who typically only utilize top companies in any industry. So I know working at many of the top companies on the Fortune 500 that if you're looking for a supplier or some sort of vendor, that they're only going to take the top 10 on that in whatever field it may be in, just because they need people who can produce. So I will still reach out to these large companies. I want to try to hit a home run with them. Maybe they're like, hey, we're not happy with this large company and we'd like to give you a shot, or maybe my price will be better. Who knows? But still a work in progress. But I'm thinking my primary focus might be to reach out to small and medium sized companies and to individuals themselves as I roll this out. I misspelled roll, I see now, which irks me, but that's okay. ROLL this out. Um, yeah. So again, I will definitely keep reaching out to the large companies to see what their appetite is, but we'll see what happens. And then how is your business customer different than the consumer? So as I mentioned above, some companies will pay for the trainings for their employees, in which case the company will be the business customer and the consumer would be the LCB employee. And now my value proposition. Do I have a clear value proposition? I believe so. Again, this is a required service, and so this can be a necessary service by my company given by qualified trade compliance professionals. This will save companies time, money, and hassle if they sign a subscription service with me, for example. Like, hey, there's 32 credit hours due each week, 36 credit hours due every 3 years for your triennial reports. Then hey, let's do 12 credit hours each year, or we can do all 36 in 1 year, whatever it is. But just have them where they know that they're going to come to me. That's going to be a service we provided. I'll have the updated trainings. That way, their employees aren't losing their licenses. They're not having to go through extra steps to get reinstated. They're not having to take a test again that's notoriously difficult to pass. And it's also going to prevent risk by having knowledgeable compliance professionals on their staff. And also, employee satisfaction could go up by giving them ongoing career education. And I know that's something that several companies I've worked for have provided some type of reimbursement for things like that. So I think it's a good service to offer your licensed customs brokers. And if your customer is part of a company, who makes the purchase decision? So I think I just went through this, but many companies either reimburse employees for continuing education credits or host course offerings for employees to engage with for free. So in the case of the former, I would definitely reach out to the customer directly. So the employees are going to get reimbursed for what they pay for. So I would be reaching out to them directly. But for the latter, I'd reach out directly to the businesses. However, I do see the benefit of whichever one that company does is reaching out to the company directly, because perhaps if they do, the employees are responsible for searching, maybe I can convince the business, say, hey, well, just throw my name out there if your employees ask you about who to go to for this type of service so they can keep their license. And so that's my thought there. Just reach out to businesses and find ways to reach individuals as well. Say, whoever is responsible for making this purchase, check out my website, check out my offerings. All right, for the business model canvas, I'm just going to go through a couple of quick changes. First off, the for customer segments, licensed customs brokers, companies who have licensed customs brokers on staff, and then also added companies that provide training to a similar customer base. So perhaps there's companies out there providing similar trainings, but not this training, that they can refer people to me, or I could work with that company on doing that. And so for me, I just do want to say thank you to everyone on the team that's in the group who's provided some input to me. I do appreciate that. And Grant, I will look into the government publications list again. I do believe in my experience with government that they basically say, here's a list of people that you can go to for this. But that in and of itself is great. Even if it's not an endorsement, at least I'm on that list. And the only other thing I can think of for this list would be for, besides accreditation and the additional, working with companies that provide similar trainings, but not this one, would be the getting information from customs on how to get on that list. Actually, so my emails are ready to go for when is the accreditation process going to be released, and how do I get on these government lists. So anyway, I won't take more of your time. Thank you so much, everybody. I appreciate it, and I look forward to listening to everyone's presentations and to providing more information next week. Bye bye.